Behind every successful student is a teacher who believed in them, challenged them, and helped them grow.
Today, the Region 7 CTE Summit brought educators together from 17 East Texas counties. East Texas News' April Peardon tells us why they were there.
I love teaching.
Catherine Darden,
This is my second year doing it.
a Pine Tree ISD education and training teacher, has a passion for the next generation of future educators.
Sharing my passion of teaching with them kind of keeps driving me.
And sometimes she says you just need someone to believe in you the way someone believed in her. At the third annual CTE Summit hosted by Region 7 in Kilgore, she was reminded of that.
Being able to share my love for teaching with my students and answer their questions and knowing that they are coming after me, so making sure that we're putting out the best teachers.
Region 7 serves approximately 102 school districts across 17 East Texas counties. The summit serves educators in a wide variety of career-focused programs, including health science, welding, cosmetology, culinary arts, hospitality, and many others. Carrie Chandler is a CTE specialist at Region 7.
Biggest thing about an event like this is that the teachers have an opportunity to network with other teachers that teach what they teach.
During his keynote, Paul Boff, a CTE coordinator, discussed the importance of growth and professional development.
In education, we just find ourselves in a rut or in a comfort zone where we don't want to move or we don't want to grow. But actually, if we can get out of that comfort zone, we find that during those growth times that we do excel.
He adds that while teachers are often exhausted after completing a busy school year, he said the conference can provide motivation and inspiration before summer begins.
Have some changes in mind that they want to implement come August and work on that throughout the summer.
April Peardon, East Texas News.
Now, about 160 people took part in today's event. That is even more than expected.